Hello again, I'm Karen Holzberger. I'm the newly appointed CEO and president of SpinTech MRI. Let me get the clicker here. With that, who are we? We're a software platform that works across the MRI ecosystem that extracts and brings data outputs, imaging data outputs to the care teams to make better informed decisions around brain health. And I'm really excited to be at the helm with Dr. Hakey. Dr. Hakey is our Chief Scientific Officer and founder. He is well recognized in the world of MRI, really as the inventor of many of the sequences that doctors and providers are using today to really start to indicate and treat diseases around Parkinson's, dementia, other movement disorders all around neurology. It's incredible what he's done over the past 40 years with 300 plus research papers done around these disease states, as well as 19 and almost 20 patents. And it's really excited to bring his lifelong work to market, across the globe in the MRI ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit about the problems and things that we're tackling. If you think about the prevalence of neurological disorders across the globe and how they're treated, each year 10 million patients are diagnosed with Parkinson's. And to give you that example, it's a really difficult disease to start treating within the first 5 years, as well as identifying. There's no single clinical test. There's many different treatment options. And incredibly enough, 3 out of 4 times, they're only getting the answer correct. And when they start doing this, they start in imaging. And this is where we play a role as being the software operating system over the MRI. A neurologist, a primary care physician, the first indication around many of these diseases to order an MRI. And you can see what can happen. The MRI is an extraordinarily powerful tool, diagnostic tool, and the go-to tool for these doctors to make these informed decisions and start to develop these care treatment plans. There's this tension happening within the health system that you hear about all the time. The tension to keep these machines running as effectively and efficiently as possible. The neurologists are looking for these data outputs, but they come at a cost and a trade-off to each other. You have about 10 minutes to run some of these brain images. To get the data output that you need, the quantitative and qualitative output of these microbleeds, these very small nuances found in the imaging, you need to take longer time. And what we've been able to develop through Dr. Hakey's work and our company SpinTech is to be able to extract, curate, and put together in an output efficiently, effectively, without compromising the sequence time or how long that patient's in the machine. Really important as the departments, the health systems who are seeing so many patients each and every day, whether it's inpatient in the afternoon, the ambulatory patients during the day, to be able to keep these machines running as efficiently and effectively as possible. And in balance, giving the information to the neurologist to make informed, earlier diagnosis with the tools that we're giving them with the imaging data. And so this is where Stage comes in. We are a comprehensive brain imaging solution, really thinking about and across the care pathways that we talked about to really help give the doctors the right tools early to make these diagnoses to improve patient outcomes, the financial outcomes, as well as the clinical outcomes for our health systems. And what's interesting about this is that because we work across the MRI ecosystem, and what does that mean? Well, it doesn't matter what MR the systems are using, whether it's in China, where there's 6,000 high-field magnets today, in the US, where there's 8,000 magnets today, whether it's from Philips, GE, Siemens, United, that we've got this ability and the interoperability to be able to extract this data and give that information to the doctors so they can make the right informed choices. I'm excited to say that we are FDA approved, and we've been FDA approved since October of 2021. We've been working with key partners here, and I talked a little bit about the market here, what's happening. But with that, where we are, to be able to actually really kind of put the demand to this market. Our priority today, with the funding that we've received, we're in our Series A, just closing that out, a commitment of $6.5 million. $5 million has been committed already. But to really start what is happening in the United States around MR. How do we start taking our solutions, putting it in the hands of the neurologist? Our second priority I'll call Horizon 2, is really what we have to do in China. Again, as I said, there's 6,000 high-field MR. The pressures that the Chinese face is around how much time do they have to scan their patients, the prevalence around Parkinson's disease. They allow 4 to 5 minutes per scan, and then we have the ability to give them, to take 40% of the time off that scan, but still give them the comprehensive information around these disease states, these movement disorders, these brain diseases for that. So you can see the priorities that we have in the global market that continues to grow at 3 to 6% CAGR every year. Really incredible time for us to be able to extract this information and give it into the hands of the doctors. Because the other problem that's happening is many of these diseases have a disconnection to how they're treated, whether it's in the early stage in the diagnosis and the identification of Parkinson's or other brain disorders, other movement disorders, to the ongoing treatment. Because, for example, and I talk about this for the US, typically a Parkinson's patient is imaged 4 times per year on MRI. So what else can we do to continue to provide that longitudinal record of the imaging data as the brain is kind of, continuing to transform in the information that those neurologists need? And what's interesting for us, as I said, we hit our first FDA of the stage platform for here, focusing on neuro. Our ambitions are continue to get to, we have a SaaS-based model today, but continuing to get into public cloud. We also know, as we go across the horizontals of the disease state in neurology, we also know that if we will continue into neck and spine, which gives us opportunity to use MR and getting the data outputs for MSK or musculoskeletal, and continuing to go across whether it's the body region or the disease states, as well as the regions around the world. Because what's interesting is the fact that MR is, again, the de facto tool. It's a very powerful diagnostic tool. The tensions that happen between getting the data, having the time to get the data, that we are able to do that too because of our interoperability. So it's really exciting. We get our next product called Crown through FDA approval, hopefully by the end of the year. That's our goal, which then opens up the market for us, not just for the high field magnets, but the 1.5 T magnets too. So it's a really exciting time for us. And so where are we today? So we've got partnerships with Siemens and GE Healthcare, as well as in the diagnostics and bioscience space with Octave, who is really tackling the ecosystem around multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's. We see ourselves being the imaging, data, output, and reporting for the neurologists for this. Our thought leaders and continued early pilots being Yale, University of Maryland, as well as Loma Linda, and the work that we're doing at University of Michigan. It's really a terrific time for us. And then finally, like I had said, even though I'm very early stage in my role here as the CEO, we're finalizing our Series A funding at $6.5 million. 5 has been committed, which really we will focus on, taking Dr. Hakey's, research and software platform and really bringing it to market to solve some of the most challenging problems that we see today around brain health and neurology. It's my personal mission. I didn't really tell you a little bit about myself, but I've been in radiology and enterprise imaging for the past 20 years. And to be a part of what Dr. Hakey's been doing to really solve these issues and solve these chronic diseases, to make it a little bit better. And hearing last night's discussion around American Cancer Society and what we can do to help not the patients today, but the patients of tomorrow with this. So thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful conference.